factor of aging.
Yeah, so given your expertise and your opinion on that, would you imagine the uptake would go 1%, 3 to 5%, 6 to 10%, and then up to 1 to 3 to 5, and then year 2 would it go to
general setting?
And then year 2, is that something you'd see around 15%, and then maybe year 5 we're up to 60, year 8 we're up to 80% of primary care physicians, if CMS approves the reimbursement, will administer PET scans to patients, to specific subsets of patients that it would be appropriate. And that's the MCI and the mild.
Well, if CMS approves it, and I would say, and there's a therapy.
And we understand the relationship between those, that, it's kind of a causation.
If it's all it's going to do is give you a diagnosis and you can't do anything about it, then I don't think it's going to be as big an incentive to run scans. But if they do get any type of therapy whatsoever that actually has an effect on the underlying course of the illness.
Yeah. So that's an interesting question. Sorry, that's an interesting question you're raising. Is it inappropriate to think about CMS approving the PET scan without a therapy at play?
No, I think they should approve it,
okay,
because then it's going to be used for diagnostic purposes, and you could argue that in
for diagnostic
a number of circumstances that may be cost effective because you prevent some other testing or workup, or it would push you. Okay.
That's really helpful. Thank you for that talk. So now I would just like to touch on the academic setting. For CMS approval, right now you offer a number around 50% of patients being seen in an academic setting will receive a PET scan. If CMS were to approve reimbursement in year 1, how would you perceive that uptake?
Well, I think it would go up another maybe 15%.
Yeah, that's actually pretty consistent with what we've heard, that overnight it would be up to 75 to 90% of patients would.
Yeah.
And then year 2, would you see an upper bound?
I think there's going to be, I think it's going to saturate out at some point. I don't think you're going to see it being used by more than 85% of patients, if you even hit that.
Okay, that's really helpful.
Say 75 to 80 is more likely to be the ceiling.
Got it.
And what would that uptake be like? Would it be overnight as well?
No, it'll take at least a year to get
yeah, I think that's
operational. I mean, for one thing, you got to get your PET scanning people up and running at a pretty high volume rate. And there aren't that, most places don't have extra dozens of PET scanners around.
Yeah, that's another good point. Yeah, so I think you can move more into the science focused.
Okay. Yeah, let's talk a little bit about actually, why don't we actually run through probability of success numbers first, and if we have time we can walk through some science questions. So I think we list out a couple of drug classes that are in late stage development for right now. First, wanted to start with the beta amyloid. So we wanted to see if you'd be able to assign a probability of success for these drug classes with an estimate percent, and then we'll replay it back to you based off of aggregated numbers across other folks we've spoken with. So starting with anti-beta amyloids, what percent probability would you expect for success with like the aducanumabs or the gantenerumabs? In this patient population that's being tested.
I'm trying to come up with an estimated number. I would no more than 50% at this point, just because of the multitude of failures. And there's been failures even when they've gone back to try and do more earlier or more mild patients with like the solanezumab. Even when they, initially when they subclassified, they thought they had an effect in mild cases.
So